In a new age of watchmen, a team of individuals pooling their talents and abilities come together to bring analysis, reaction, and comedy to the fold. This is their chronicle. This is Accounting Arc.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Accounting Arc. I am very pleased today to be continuing our series on non-accountants. And today with me is Rachel. And Rachel, would you like to introduce yourself, maybe where you're located and what you do?
Sure, thanks, Donny. So I am Rachel Bashore. I am located in Orlando, Florida. And I work for, first off, I am an attorney. So talk about a non-accountant. I was an attorney for years before I found my way into the accounting profession. I worked for a firm called Herbein and Company based in Pennsylvania, actually. It's an accounting and advisory firm. We've got 316 employees, 14 different offices, and our firm is going through a period of exponential growth and diversifying our services. So I am the new Director of Operations and Strategic Initiatives. So I started almost a year ago, and I'm charged with scaling the operations for growth, which means, automation, like automating things, creating more consistency, more clarity around what we do, breaking down silos, consolidating our efforts, making sure we're all rowing in the right direction together, engaging with all the different departments and the practice areas, and just kind of working firm-wide.
That's a lot, but it also doesn't sound like lawyer work. How did you come to do this?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I had a very crooked path that makes total sense now. At the time, it did not. I had 4 majors in college, and my parents were super excited about that. Not really, but I started out as an engineering major, found out that wasn't right for me, went to psychology, didn't like that either, went to information technology, and then ended up being a little bit more true to myself and graduated with a design degree. So I'm actually a visual artist by training. So then my first job out of school was I went to work for IBM because I still had that information technology piece of things, and I wanted to join a team that I knew would be really strong and where I'd learn a lot. And the career opportunity was really lucrative. And so I went that direction, spent some years as a consultant. What was interesting, we had projects and we had troubled projects. And so we would come in and we would create software solutions. This was 2001 or so. So everybody was going to e-commerce and to enterprise software application, which means basically creating applications that were custom. This is before apps and before the cloud was really a thing. So that was what I was working on with IBM, was helping to understand what the business people needed and translating that to the tech folks. What I found really interesting was when we would have a troubled project and they would actually bring in a team to save the project. And it was to cut through all of the conflict and all that was happening and bring everybody together. And so based on that conflict, I went to law school because I thought, you know what, I'm really interested in this. So I went to law school. I became a trial lawyer. I was a litigator for about 8 years, and then kind of still was interested in information technology. Got into privacy a bit because it's law and information, right? So I was recruited to work in banking, which was undergoing a lot of changing, and the idea of being a compliance person was really interesting because just like accountants, being a lawyer, you have billable hours and you work many, many hours, and it's a lot of fun, but it's also really hard. And so I needed something a little more stable. I had a 1-year-old at home. So went into banking, then found my way into fintech. And then finally, just kind of went through and kind of always sort of followed my curiosity. And whenever a new opportunity would present itself, I would say, can I grow from this? And is this interesting to me? And if it was, I would just pursue it. and bring that perspective to whatever it was that was in front of me. So I've been a chief operating officer. I've been in banking and fintech, and then, so I always kept my law degree and kept my license. And I think that I draw from that a lot. And that experience, it's really unique. But I had the opportunity to get into accounting when I knew a firm that was in Herbein actually, that was in our community. I had partnered with a lot of these folks in lawsuits and things like that, and was given the opportunity to lead the operations of the team as we were starting to scale. And I thought, this is really interesting, because just like banking, just like law, accounting is really ripe for disruption. And so naturally, that was really interesting to me, because I like change. I like shaking things up and growth. And so that's really how I found myself in accounting. I didn't start out saying I wanted to be an accountant, or I was actually put off a little bit in the beginning because I thought, geez, I'm not an accountant. What am I going to do? So
That's interesting. And you have worked what I think many people think of as very high profile, kind of sexy things, right? It's IT consulting, litigation, and you did it that's a long time to do litigation too. You said 8 years, I think. And then fintech, like those are all like sexy things. And then now you're here in an accounting firm.
yeah.
How does that feel for you? I mean, you said you're working through change. Do these kind of live up to those previous things that you're doing, or how is it maybe different?
I think because accounting is so ripe for change, it's a challenge. And I've always found myself attracted to industries that are undergoing change or that need to change. And accounting is one of them. I think as we shift from accounting to more of an advisory type of role, where it's less about transactions, it's less about doing tax returns and doing an audit, and those things are important, but it's more about kind of wrapping around the client and really helping them succeed. It triggers okay, I've done this with software, I've done this with the law, and with helping you to create, your corporate structures, and with litigating, handling your conflicts. And now you take it from kind of the monetary side of things, like the number side of things. And so that opportunity to take something that is relatively limited in the beginning and blow it up is what's really exciting to me.
So the other things that you mentioned are all what I think of as client facing. So it's service directly out to the client, but now you're in an internal role. How are you finding that this internal role, or what made you decide to take more of an internal role this time rather than external facing?
So I think it's a matter of thinking of folks internally as your clients. And so it's enabling. It's just a different set of people that you're enabling. So instead of enabling the client, you're enabling the people who reach out to the client and who are the face of the firm, who may be more outward facing. So it's still a helping and an empowering kind of position, but it's really kind of gearing everything up for continued growth.
I love that you've flipped that around, because that's the other way I talk about it too. When I talk to even controllers, CFOs, I was telling them, anytime you hear me say client, it's really the others in your company that you're helping work through stuff. It's just that you're in an internal position rather than an external position.
Yep, exactly.
I'm curious, any insights you would share on working or being a non-accountant working in the accounting firm? Anything that would surprise you, or that you didn't expect, or?
Yeah, a few things. So I realized that I knew enough about accountants because I worked with them, and I knew about the services industry, so that helped. But it's a unique kind of service, and your kind of traditional accountant is someone who is often very analytical, and we all have strengths, and sometimes some people, the strength is analyzing a situation and really crunching numbers and really doing some amazing things with that, or creating, preparing reports or preparing product. Others are better at kind of the business side of things. And I think when I came into the accounting firm, I realized that in the beginning, what I saw as a limitation of myself of not being an accountant and not knowing how to prepare a corporate tax return or what a K-1 is or any of these things, not really knowing that. There's plenty of people in the firm who do. And if I can leverage those folks and be open to asking questions and really internalizing what they're telling me and knowing what I need to, I can bring a unique perspective that they don't have. And so what's been really exciting is kind of overlaying the collective experience of the accountants and the people at the firm with my own perspective to challenge. And that's always been, I've talked about disrupting industries. It's challenging. And it's challenging norms and expectations to say that we can do better or that we can do something different.
Excellent. I like that too. That very much resonates with me because a lot of what we've been telling accountants in particular is the way that you ran your firm to get to where you are now is not the way you're going to be able to run your firm to take you into the next even 3 years as we kind of look at things. So yeah, definitely a lot of change, a lot of disruption going on now. If I could kind of also ask, how would you compare working at an accounting firm compared to a consulting firm or a law firm?
It's a good question. I think they're very, very similar. And it's because you're selling your services, you're selling your knowledge, and you have a very specific license and a specific training for all of those things and a specific competency. But they're so similar in that you're selling your knowledge, your time and your expertise, and you're helping a client to realize something that they can't do on their own. So whatever that is, your business model is almost identical. It's generally billable time. It can be project oriented, whatever, but on the back end of things, it's really similar. And so I've been the whole experience has really reinforced that we're all in this together and that our problems are not unique.
I like that. Spoken like a true innovator, I think, being able to see the patterns and here's the similarities and here's how we actually leverage something else in a different situation, but the pattern is close enough. Maybe we can take that and utilize that here. Well, you've mentioned how a lot of the commitment is really helping clients be more successful. And sometimes when we do that, we feel like we're coming in as a hero. So have you ever felt like you've saved the day for your clients? And now it's your internal clients, I guess. Could you share an example of that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm really good at talking people back from the edge, especially dealing with conflict. And so, we had an incident, and this wasn't at Herbein, just to be clear. This was I'll protect the innocent. I'll keep it generic. But basically, we were working with a partner that had an incredibly, very, very well-known brand, had a very strong and dynamic and awesome product and marketing team that was just innovating and just knew their market and knew how to be, their advertising was funny and engaging and all this stuff. But they had added in this other kind of aspect of their business that was very risky and highly regulated. And so coming in as that person who was supposed to be kind of in charge of making sure everyone played by the rules, a lot of times innovation and the rules do not mix well. And, it's this whole, okay, they were at odds, everybody was kind of yelling at each other across the hallway, if you could picture that. And it was kind of taking that dynamic and saying, you know what, we all have interests and they're all valid. And so let's transform this from an either or win-lose kind of one way or the other situation to how do we solve this together? So let's all come onto the same side of the table and let's figure out just be honest, put it up there. What do you care about? What are you worried about? What do we need to do? And then it's stop thinking about this either or, it's think about what is the way forward. And that ability to see the way forward is something that I've just always had.
Nice. And actually, it's funny you say that because that one of the core competencies that we recognize in the accounting profession is that we are one of the integrators of advice, right? It's pulling in, if I were to go kind of traditional that like tax and estate planning, it's often the accountant working with the family, but also saying, okay, well, let's work with your lawyer and your estate planning lawyer, and let's work with your investment manager, and let's work with all these these people and pull it together, figure out like, how do we get you to where you want to be when you retire, or to transfer the wealth, or whatever it is, as we're going through stuff. So definitely sounds like you have some accounting blood or roots in there in you. I'm curious, what would you say is your superpower?
Um, I I always find a way through. So I have this ability to kind of break things out logically. And again, this is learned over time. I didn't I didn't come out of college knowing like this is what I'm good at. This is what I can do. This is over time. I figured out that I always end up in these situations where I'm kind of like I can see the way forward. I can break things out logically into like, okay, we want to do this, then we have to do this and this, that needs to be true, and then this. And so it doesn't mean I always have the answer, but I'm really good at seeking out information from the experts, from my colleagues, and then distilling that down to its essence to see that issue and see the way forward. So it's just something I enjoy doing that. The bigger the problem, the bigger the mess, the more excited I am.
Spoken like a true consultant.
Right. It's it was the most fun part of my first job out of college was meeting with clients and being able to understand kind of what their problems were and where things looked intractable to them. It was just, I don't know. And it was like, okay, well, we're going to bring in our group and our team. And, being out of college, I didn't have a whole lot of perspective, but I was able to learn from some incredible professionals who, I watched them solve problems. I watched them interact and say difficult things. And all through my legal career, kind of saw that as well. And we learned how to say things that are hard in a way that someone can hear them, and then that message can be received. And so it just kind of manifested over time. And so, that's where I said earlier, it was a crooked path and it was a little stressful. Like, wait, are you still in banking? Or are you in law now? Or what are you doing? And it was, it's because you grab all these perspectives and can kind of pull that together. And the people that I've been able to work with, being a little bit industry independent, it's just been an incredible experience. And bringing that information to bear and seeing that way forward is it's one piece of the team.
Definitely sounds like a superpower. Actually, let me ask you this. So you mentioned this kind of crooked path. If someone wanted to end up being in a position like yours, let's say, like one of the students listening is like, I'd love to be able to do that. What would you actually recommend to them in terms of should they follow the crooked path, or what's your advice to someone's kind of coming out of school?
Yeah. So I think owning your path and knowing that there is no expectation that things are going to change. There is no expectation that what you choose is going to be the thing that you're going to do. That's actually a really rare thing, that someone takes a path and follows through like for decades and just stays there. Mostly it's learning about what you don't like and learning about what you're good at and where you tend to fall, and where do you tend to shine. And so what I love about the accounting industry is that this shift in focus that we're all going through in this industry, to survive, what clients are looking for is more of a strategic partnership with their accountants. They're not, you need the transactions, you need the audits, you need the work papers, but really what you're looking for if you're a client is someone to be an advisor and someone that's on your team. And so that shift in product focus to now more strategic focused, we're really well positioned to become business advisors, and it takes all types. And so the client wants your perspective. And so I think it's just really fun because you get to do something different all the time. There's not one path anymore. I think that kind of archetype of the accountant who just crunches numbers and doesn't interact, there are those types. There's certainly room for that, but it's a wide umbrella. There's room for all types. And, it's, so if you own your path and you know what you're interested in, accounting is an excellent place to get started, to kind of find what you're good at, and you can move around pretty easily.
I like that. I like that. And definitely, I mean, our discussion has surfaced a lot of the need for that diversity of skill set now. And that it's not just about, because we're delivering these solutions or problem solving to the clients, and these problems have become very complex now. It's not as simple as it was in the past. Having all these perspectives, especially legal, operations, innovation, like pulling all of those things together, that definitely helps create that better solution in the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And it's,
go
I
ahead.
can add to that too. It's a great place to belong. Because there's a lot of industries where you do need to have a particular skill set. And what I love about accounting and this whole consultative thing is that you can really belong as yourself to that team. And so just again, it's so inclusive and there's so much opportunity because businesses have their own needs. And so where you may not plug into one client, you'll plug in really well to another or help another team member to advise that client if you're more on the back end of things.
Oh, I love that. You triggered some of the words there, like because I agree. I do feel that our profession is very inclusive when you look at all the different aspects of diversity, and we talk about DEI and everything, but it's really you really do see the diversity when you start to work with all of the different people. And even we were talking on another podcast about how even the fact that there's a lot of the work that we do is online and the meetings are online, someone that, whether they had a visual impairment or a hearing impairment, our profession is actually inclusive of them because we use the technology so much. They're actually able to be a member of the teams and to be a productive member of the teams where their impairment doesn't actually disable them from participating and contributing.
Yeah, and not only that, I think that difference becomes your superpower in a lot of ways because you're dealing with clients that don't all look the same and they don't all behave the same or care about the same things. And so, for example, if you've got someone who's visually impaired, and you're working on, you're working with a client, then when you're putting together, even when we were putting together websites or marketing materials or things that someone would react to, that person on our team who had that kind of difference in ability there would see it and say, I'm not going to receive that message the same way, and would add this perspective. And it was really about just helping us to be aware. And I think knowledge is power. So the more you have different perspectives or people that, have a different, the other thing is it's nice for a client to see people that reflect themselves in the marketplace. It's not, I believe highly in merit-based, but I also think that it's nice to have that kind of difference, that people come in with different perspectives based on all kinds of factors.
Completely. I love it. So you've talked about your superpower. What's your critical vulnerability?
Great
And it's
question.
not a job interview, so it's not like tell me what your weakness is.
I think, it's when the vision is unclear or because what I do is I bring vision into reality. I see the way forward. I can work on things. I need resources to do it. And I will speak truth to say, are we chasing waterfalls? Is there something that we're not there yet? First, these things need to happen. But when the vision's unclear or, the goalposts keep moving or it's vague, it'll dilute my attention and my focus, and because I want to deliver. And so then my system overloads because I can't deliver. I can't. I need it clear. It doesn't mean that we can't adapt to changes, but I've been in situations where we're doing this and then, well, no, put that on hold. We're going to do this now. And then wait, this other company's doing that. So we're going to do this too. And it's like, and that is my kryptonite. That is, I can't work. You gotta, we've got to, and that's where the ability to have those hard conversations, especially with people who are your superior, people who are amazing at what they do, but they just don't know. They don't know what's involved or what the precursors are to certain things.
Yeah.
And so if you can explain it to them in that way, you can get through it. But there are those who, if they can't listen, if they're in that spot where they're just fickle, we're not going to work well together.
I'm totally with you on that one. I actually have the same thing where it's like, if I cannot see that vision of this is what we're trying to achieve, and if that keeps moving, that'll drive me nuts. And I'm like, I can't help you because we're just going in different directions, and we're not making the most effective use of all of our efforts. We're kind of wasting time.
Yeah, yeah. It reminds me of, playing a sport where it's like the goal is down there, but then it's like here. And then it's like, well, wait, then you got to shift your whole field position and then you're in the wrong spot. It's kind of brings that to mind.
Well, you've provided, I think, a lot of great advice here. If people want to get in contact with you, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so probably I'm on LinkedIn. So just look up Rachel Bashore. If you look up I'm under Herbein. That's a great way. I'm on there a lot. Also, you can email me. It's RD Bashore, so RD and then Bashore at Herbein.com. And yeah, that's probably the best, is just going those two routes. I'm
Great.
digital.
And just to clarify, because I actually made this mistake too, Bashore doesn't have a Y in it, so it's Bashore.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody wants to put that in there, including myself. So Bashore is my married name, and I mispronounced my own name when I first met my husband. It's common. But yeah, no, I'm always and making connections is great. I love having conversations and meeting folks and just kind of having that ability to connect and to just toss around ideas and things like that.
Awesome. Well, I've enjoyed connecting with you and talking through all of these ideas here. So thank you so much for being on the podcast today. And for all of you out there listening, I hope that you enjoyed this episode and that you'll join us for another episode of Accounting Art. We'll see you then.
The Center for Accounting Transformation provides business professionals with a network for utilizing innovations that are ready for adoption, the training and resources necessary to apply those innovations, and an opportunity to engage the talent and community needed to further the pursuit of innovative accounting practices that drive responsible and mindful business performance. Find out more at our website, www.improvetheworld.net. And if you're interested in sharing your own transformation stories, please contact us there.